Hello guys, Adam Harris here. I'm so sorry. I've been really wanting to do a market review for most of you. Some people are very kind to let me know that they appreciate it, just so that I get a sense of feedback of who's watching it, and then I know if it's of value to people. So I want to have a quick look here at a few things. I'm looking at the. I'll try and do this quite quickly. I'm looking at the dollar index, and I'm going to do a kind of a review here. At this point in time, we have a higher low and a high. So we're not sure if the trend's going to continue, but it appears to be bouncing off the 50, and it does appear that it's probably going to try and have a go at this level again. So if the dollar is strengthening, the dollar index is a basket of currencies, of 8 currencies against the dollar. And what this normally indicates is that, for the most part, it's gonna force the euro and the cable to go short, or vice versa. If cable and euro for some reason decide to go long, they'll pressure the dollar down. So that's why I'll compare what I see here with what I see against the cable and euro. It does appear to be trying to work its way back up, and probably would come up even as high as this level here. And is looking to be relatively bullish. I'll have a quick look at the weekly. The weekly is just showing a rejection candle off this level. It appears the support is holding, so there's a breakthrough and a test, and then we're looking to see if that level holds, which it looks like it has. I won't really relax, ironically, getting more and more familiar with price action. I really want to see this high get broken. So what we have at this point is we have lower highs, lower lows. Our first buy here has actually broken that. This is our ring low at this point in time. It's Wednesday now, and so this is where we are. I'd really like to see a bit more strength in it, but be that as it may, that's kind of where we are at the moment. Interesting just to see what the retracement, if I go back to the daily. I know not everyone's familiar with fib levels. Don't worry about them. Really, do not worry about them. They're like an extra little thing. It's always just interesting to see if price pulls back to a certain level. This is somewhere between the 38s and the 50. It just, they pull back certain amounts. So that's interesting to see, just that it has pulled back far enough. It can pull back anywhere to one of these 3 levels before reversing, and it has pulled back. If it was, if it was higher up, I wouldn't disregard it. So what I'm saying is that it's fulfilling a certain number of criteria that this could potentially be the actual continuation. And we're still paying a lot of attention to what's going on in Europe. So that's a big part of what's going on here. If I look at the euro, we see an inverse of that. I don't know why, for some reason I have a level here. We see an inverse of that, so we're seeing that price at this point, price has come back to the same area, bouncing off the 50, in between the 50 and the 38 too. Just, you can see that it's behaving. So what that tells me is that if they're so similar, sorry about that, I may get a few more of those. It's just interesting. I think when we see a direct inverse of behavior between the euro and the dollar, and I mean almost exactly, that means, what the conclusion you can draw from that is that they're watching each other closely. So then you look at what is the common elements, and the common elements is obviously the credit crunch crisis and debt and all the stuff going on in the Eurozone is affecting that. So that's what happens. With the basket of the dollar index, if you find, for example, Euro's kind of doing one thing, the dollar's kind of doing another, cable's sort of doing another, the yen is maybe doing its own thing completely. That's normally what happens when the markets is kind of is seeing better days. Because then there's a lot more freedom, they'll kind of be more independent. It's when they're highly correlated, it's during times of great stress. And if we see it almost to the bar that it's tightly correlated, it really means the market is tightly correlated, it's tightly linked, and it's probably due to some fundamental issue, which, as you all know, is what's going on. Anyhow, reality is the euro is still in a downtrend. Over a large period of time, we can see it's in a downtrend. And the real question is, at what point will this downtrend change? And we've heard so much bad news. You would think that the euro would plummet, but the irony is that this has been dropping since last year. So while we've been hearing good news and bad news and losing money in these, well, beginner traders are losing money in these bits and pieces and it's going up and down, it actually has been overall, it's been going down. And so what that means is that a lot of the bad news is kind of already factored in. It can drop and drop, but it's kind of factored in already. But what I do think is interesting, and I really wanted to show you this, is that if we look back over time, this is the weekly chart. If we look back over time, this is the Lehman Brothers crash over here. This is 2008. And this is where all the stuff started, or at least this is when the can of worms was opened. This is when we discovered all the problems. But what I wanted to show you is, as much as everyone's worried about the euro, this is where it's been in the past. I'm going to go back a bit. I want to just point out in 2000, this is where the euro was. And this is where it is now. So, everyone's like, oh my word, the euro's going to crash. But you know what? The euro's been far lower than this. So, I guess what I'm getting at is the euro's doing okay. It's doing fine. It's currently in a downtrend. It's not necessarily the end of the world as we know it. There are things that have to be sorted out. And things will probably change the way we do credit, and those things will go on. But I just want you to, you're like, well, the euro's crashing. It's not crashing. And so it's actually irrelevant as far as we're traders. It's irrelevant. All that matters is we trade the pattern as we see it. Whether it's going up or down, we don't really care. I'm just pointing out to you that that's a fact. I'm subsidizing that by showing you the euro's been this low and look where it is now. So it's not crashing. So if you're basing your trading on what you're hearing on the news, I'm just giving you very clear evidence that it's not crashing. So you just shouldn't be trading the news. Let it go. Keep in touch with it if you want to hold up an intelligent conversation at the dinner table. But don't waste your time tying it together with your trading, because you just keep losing money. And I found with a lot of people, as soon as they drop the news from their trading regimen, their trading starts to improve because they focus clearly and they're not being distracted by noise. It's like listening to the crowds. If you're an athlete, you're listening to the crowds in a stadium. Anyhow, so we're still at this key level at this point. I really want to see what it's going to do, if it's going to break through that or not. Let's have a look at cable quickly. Cable is, interesting enough, it is still stronger than the euro. It's actually holding off this level, this approximate level over here. It just keeps bouncing. It may well be ranging. We will find out depending on how far it goes up at the moment. It's loosely correlated to the euro, and it's a proximity thing. We're close to Europe, so our economy is affected to some degree by them. If nothing else, just the reputation. What's worth taking note of on the weekly chart, which is where we currently are, is again we have higher lows and higher highs on these bars, and this bar now has a lower high and a lower low and a lower high. It's broken the low. So what that means to me is, if there is a turnaround, this is potentially where it will to go back into a downtrend. So this makes sense. It's also bouncing off these moving averages. Let's see what that fib level is. Out of curiosity, don't panic. Yeah, it's right on the 50 fib. So that's a good place to turn around. So these are all indications that, yeah, this could be turning around as well, or have effectively, signaled the turnaround. The moving averages appear to be fanning out, which means the momentum is picking up, kind of like you have here. So let's see if it's a choppy one, kind of like we have here, or if it begins a nice strong trend downwards. And it's not going to trend downwards forever. It could trend down for 1 week, it could trend down for 10 weeks. It doesn't really matter. Your goal is that you must be prepared to spot an opportunity starting, and as soon as it started and going, you should immediately then pay attention as to when it's going to stop. So that way you're always trading defensively. We look at Swissy, which is inverted. It should match the US dollar. So the Swiss franc is doing a similar behavior. And look at this. This is beautiful. It's not doing massive moves, but man, it's going up. We've got undeniable higher lows and higher highs. So price came back. I set the 10-day, and let me tell you, that's a very good sign. Set the 10-day, and it's bust already. So we had lower highs. Now we've got a new high and a new low. We've broken the high. So this is what we call a ring low or a swing low. And it's bouncing off the 10-day moving average. When price bounces off the 10-day moving average, that's often an indication that the strength is looking pretty strong. So this appears as though we have gone back into, let's call it the next phase. I don't like this phase 1, phase 2, because it throws people off. But we've started this phase. And if you need me to put a name to it, okay, it's phase 1. It appears to be the case. We'll watch it as it comes up to this level to see if it can break through that. But it's looking good. So it looks as though the US dollar is kicking back into phase, euro is kicking back into phase, cable and everything. We look at the yen. Fascinating. Right, what we have here is a low, a higher low, a higher low. Alright, in between we've got a higher high. We're middle between these two right now. So we're trying to see if this is going to go any higher. The lows of all these bars are higher than each other, but there is some kind of a level here we haven't quite broken. So I would be more confident if I saw this go further. If I look at the daily, we're getting, we've got some moves here. And we've got a low test here. It's trying to break through these moving averages. It's just broken above it and come back and low tested off the 20. So, and what we have today is a high low and a high high. So what I'm saying is, could this then be the beginning of a phase up? Well, we're seeing Swissy move up, we're seeing cable move down and euro move down, we're seeing the dollar move up. So as we're seeing all of them appearing to be turning a corner and starting again. So based on all of that evidence, I'm inclined to think it's going to try and it's going to get its way out the gate. The question will be, will some other bad news come out of Europe and cause everything to freeze again? So keeping those two things in mind, it's just, look for trends like this, plan this. This will be plan A. We expect to see that happen. Alright? But if this starts happening, then we must just understand why. That's all. If you need to find out why, check the news. But yeah. So if we look at that, Aussie dollar, same kind of thing. Look at this. This is great. Aussie dollar was in a downtrend. Yep. Okay, it came down. It's now in an uptrend. Now it's come back down. Let's see what it's going to do. It appears again, same thing. This bar has gone higher, has broken the low. That looks like the swing low. And this one has broken the high again. So this is also looking bullish. Same as yen, same as Swiss franc. So those ones there. Kiwi, let's have a look and see what happens here. This is looking potentially bullish, bouncing off the 10-day moving average. Low tests. Sorry, let me zoom in on that. Not very big moves, mind you, and that's why we and maybe that's what's going on, is everything is doing very small moves. It's like testing the waters. So let's just kind of see how that goes. So what you want to do in this particular case is with your trades is probably be very cautious about your targets. Look for really nice cyclicity in your hourly charts and 4-hourly charts. So what I mean by that is, if I'm going to go long on this, what I need to see, if I'm expecting to go long on this, I must be seeing higher highs and higher lows first before I consider doing that. So if I go to my hourly chart, my 60-minute chart, and then look, I'm just going to temporarily switch to bars because it's easier to see that. This is where my attention must be. I must be seeing sequentially higher bars, higher price action, higher highs and higher lows. So when I say to you guys I'm looking to go long, this is the kind of thing I need to see in my hourly and 4-hourly to protect me. I need to see nice healthy cycles going higher and higher if I'm going long. So in other words, up until I see that, if you look here, that's what we're seeing here. I need to see that continued. We had a bit of a collapse here. I'm looking to see it. It looks like it's potentially going sideways here between these sort of levels. I want to see it break out of that and carry on going long again. And then my confidence will be in it. So we look at the hourly and the 4-hourly to give us that indication. So when I say to you, for example, if it's Sunday night and the trend is down and I'm looking to go long, what we'll see is the trend will be down, and then I'm waiting to see the trend start to bounce up and up and up, and that's when I enter. So, because I can't always tell when it's going to happen. It might happen on Monday immediately, it might happen on Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'll be waiting to see that. So when I say to you guys, that's what I'm looking for, that's what I mean. Go back to candlestick, and let's go back to the daily, and just see kind of what's happening here. Interesting as well, when I look at Kiwi as an example, it doesn't matter because I'm watching the Aussie dollar as well. There appears to be a downtrend here. So it'd be very interesting to see if price breaks that. But certainly, this is the daily chart. If I see the price comes up, and again, it's coming close to that low. So, I mean, the previous high. If it comes up and it breaks that, then my confidence in the long, in going bullish actually increases. So I'm always looking for the area, in trading defensively, I'm always looking for an area where price could stab me in the back or something, or reverse on me. not to be paranoid, but you do want to do that. You want to prepare yourself for that, and you want to trade. So your first goal to become successful as a trader is to try to learn how to pick the right entries, and I know the patterns. So you're learning the patterns, and that's obviously where my coaching comes in. So you want to see that happen and see those patterns, and then also look for patterns of failure. So I can watch this, and I have a comfort that I've developed in the 4-hourly and hourly charts, and I'm quite happy to spend that with you to show you that time to learn that. And it's just a question of time for me to transfer that, download it into your brain, and you to practice it. I understand that looking at charts in hindsight always seems so obvious, but you know what? It's actually not. There's always a plan A and a plan B. At this point, we're looking to go long. If it doesn't break that and it starts going sideways, then I'll sit and go, okay, what's going on? And obviously, if it starts going down, then I figure this downtrend is still holding, and then I just revise my view. But that's why I look at it every week, because 3 or 4 days will give me a lot more information, and each bar will give me more information. So if this is going to carry on, we will probably see sequential bars going higher and higher. If something changes and suddenly one bar drops a lot and then the next bar drops, then something is happening, and I just review my plan from that. And I can see that happening. So if I'm in a trade, I'll be watching to see that kind of thing happen. So if I look at Aussie dollar to see where that is, because if we consider the Australian dollar as the big brother, I don't know how, but let's just say hypothetically for a moment we do. Just kind of because they behave that way. We've just got to see what happens there. It's a bit further away, and look at that. Isn't that amazing? There's this previous resistance level that's lined up that we've discovered on the chart, and that's where price has to go to, and also it's got to break through that. So it's not a coincidence. It's always these support resistance levels that actually act as a barrier. And so that's probably an area where price will arrive, and the question is, will it turn around and carry on down? It shouldn't break that line. If it breaks and then breaks up above this line and it finds some kind of support and then starts going wrong, we just start going wrong. So it's always around these areas that we stop trading because we need to know what's going to happen. But the big fish are always watching these levels. That's really where stuff is. So we always want to pay attention to those, and you'll see things start to line up. Price action starts acting funny here, and it's not a surprise anymore, because at that point, other traders that were trading it in between here are getting out, and other traders are hopping in because they want to push it whichever way they do. So just looking for that, and guys, always look for nice clean charts to trade. So let's go and have a look at the S&P. So it's worth paying attention to the fact that we have we haven't gone long yet. What's interesting is we had a high, a low, a lower high, a low, and then we proceeded to come up here. This bar broke it by a notch, came up, back, new high, low, appears to be going long. So I will be watching this to see how much further it's going to go long for. So I'm really kind of wanting to see if it's actually going to be able to create, if it's actually really going to be able to break this previous high. So that's a big thing, just to see if we can do that. So and of course I'm watching these levels, because if I do this, if I give myself some references, if we do that and we find that price can't seem to break that level and comes back down, then the trend is indeed continuing downwards. Right now it's in a temporary uptrend, and that's more to do with what's happening on the weekly time frame. And this whole thing about jumping between the daily and the weekly, you will get that with practice, I promise. Especially if you just keep watching my videos. Eventually I'll find time, I'll try and introduce it as independent video segments on how to analyze that. But I've got these two areas, and I really want to see which of these sides will win. And that helps me do that, because if it breaks up and then breaks through that level, then it's probably that side that's winning. If it doesn't and it carries on down, then that's the bearish side that's winning. So it's nice to be able to do that. And until that time, I just trade as much with it as I can. And then we look, and we're going to look at all of them because they're a pack. So if we can find out which ones are which, we'll do that. So mainly, I'm going to watch the FTSE is a little bit more volatile. I'm going to look at the 4 others. I'm going to look at the Russell 2000. And this isn't futures, I don't think. This is just a standard chart. So, currently we're in the same kind of pattern. We have high lows, high highs at this point in time. So let's draw in that same trend line. Let's do it to there. That covers us. And let's do it from here to here. And that covers us. So we want to see if all of them have similar patterns. And if most of them start breaking upwards, then that's where they're all going to go. So if 2 or 3 or 4 of them start breaking it, that's where they're all going to go. If 2 or 3 of them start breaking down below, then that's where all of them are going to go. So it gives you a nice little point of reference. Same thing here. We're looking at the Nasdaq, kind of drawing a thing here, Okay, nothing so far. This one was the most bullish, and it's looking good. They're all heading up. I think we need to see what's going on here. So that means that if you are wanting to trade these, because if your account's with FXCM and with ETX, you can trade the FTSE, and you can do that. You just need to pay attention to where those levels are, and so that means just paying attention to where key levels are, like previous highs and previous lows. We appear to have found support here. This is all good, and we seem to be going up. And so you can trade it up, but just be careful when it comes to those levels. So at this particular point in time, I would do short trades. But again, not all of you have strategies to do this. Right, and then we've got the Dow Jones. Dow Jones is a good trend line at that point, and there's a trend line coming down here. So we've got a really good, we can see they're all there, and they're all going up. So they're all pretty much the same. Let's look at the FTSE. Okay, now there are things to pay attention to here. I find it interesting. It always fascinates me. The line can be just enough for me to be able to get a sense of what's going on here. Okay, so we'll figure out pretty quickly what's going to happen here. And I have to say, the FTSE I allow a little bit more leeway because it is a little bit more volatile. For some reason, it's prone to overreacting. In fact, it's a lot like cable, like pound, sterling. Sterling can overreact a lot. So it's a lot more volatile in a day than the euro is. So if the dollar's weakening and the euro's strengthening, I've seen cable weaken and then strengthen. I've seen it go swing a lot more wildly. And it's interesting because the FTSE does the same thing. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if that's it. I don't think it's as simple as London traders being more emotional. I know with the weather we get, it wouldn't blame me. I wouldn't blame anyone for that. But I don't think that's it, because we have a lot of foreign traders trading in London, and a lot of London traders trading traders will place orders on all the different floors around the world. So I don't think that's really it. I don't know what it is. It's just a personality quirk I've noticed. It's prone to swinging a bit wilder. But anyway, here we go. So here's the FTSE chart. We're looking to see it break out of this either way. If it starts breaking up, I'll leave these lines in here and we can start to see what it is. If I really have to get an idea of that, I'll go look at the monthly. And at this point, I'm not convinced just yet what the story is. If I remember that the FTSE is not the leader of the pack, but it appears at the moment that it's the Dow, and that's looking good. It's bouncing off the 20 at this point. This is looking pretty bullish. Look at this, high lows, high highs. We haven't broken it. So the Dow is the leader right now, and it's very bullish, especially on the monthly. It's looking fine. And if I look at the Nasdaq, it's higher highs, higher lows. Look at that, it's just broken through and found support. As far as we know, it appears to have found support. That's bullish. So that's the monthly chart. So we're really looking, so already we've got two of them that are looking incredibly bullish. S&P, and there we go, high highs, high lows. That's bullish. There's a low test off the 20. That's bullish. So despite what you might think of an impending crash, three of them are making high highs and high lows, and this one is still, okay, this is in between the moving averages. So here's the question is, do we have enough of them that are breaking out of that? But the S&P is doing it, Dow Jones, Nasdaq are doing it. That's 3 out of them. So let's see what the Russell does, and let's see what the FTSE does. It's kind of unusual for the Russell not to be with the rest. That is a bit worrying, but these are things I'm watching. So if you look at the weekly, I'm sorry to be prattling on, I'll try and wrap this up quickly. If I look at the weekly, I'm trying to look for signs here. We still have a lower high, but we are still doing high lows. We need to see, again, I would like to see it break that line, and then you know what, if it breaks that line, then my idea is it's going to go bullish. If we find that it starts breaking the downwards line, then I'm shifting to bearish. So just at this point, we're like in the middle of a crux, and I want to kind of know what's going on. But the monthlies appear to be bullish on the 3 of them. which leads me to think that I would lean towards it breaking through here. So therefore, if it starts breaking through that, I would start going long. And that's just in terms of, that means that I would pay more attention to stocks that are trending upwards very nicely. That's all. That's the way that I would treat this. If I'm trading stocks, I would do that. But I can also trade, I also trade the FTSE during the day. I trade a 5-minute chart when I have time, and it's a really good thing. The other thing I'm going to start doing, by the way, is I'm going to start recording a few live trades. I'm not going to do it tonight, and tomorrow I've got the Flying Trader Day. But I'll look on Friday, and certainly next week, I'm going to see if I can find a gap, and I'm actually going to do live trades. I'll just, 10 minutes, see if I can trade the FTSE live, and I'll do it at work, I'll do it at the office, just so you guys can see how I analyze the trade, or what I'm looking for to see the trade go. And then I'll just do it. I'll just record a few live ones, and I might even have a delegate or two sitting next to me. Just so there's someone sitting next to me. You can ask questions from a delegate's point of view. I promise that I will try and do it next week if I have a moment. And then maybe during a session, if a delegate agrees, then and they acquiesce, then I'll just do it during that, just as a group kind of live trading thing, because people just want to see how you analyze the charts and how you do it. And I do it with a lot of my delegates. I have no problems about it. We just look at a certain chart and then look at how it's behaving, and then we go with that, and then see how people do it, because everyone's like, oh, well, you can always see it in hindsight. Can you do it in real time? I'm going, yeah, you can, and you really just want to do that. A case in point is just what I'm looking at the euro. This is just a 5-minute chart. But the reality is, at this point in time, it was going sideways there. You can actually see there were some levels there, that it broke down, kind of tested, lows, coming back up. Right now, it's doing higher lows and lower highs, so it's actually ranging. You can't trade this. You would wait. What we're looking to see is either lower highs and lower lows, or higher highs and higher lows, in order to take it that way. And so that's the kind of thing I do. If I was looking at the 1-minute chart, this is the 1-minute chart here, then I can see in the 1-minute chart it's kind of doing high lows and high highs. We're not there yet, so you couldn't enter a trade right now, just based on that. There's just nothing to trade at that point. And of course, it's 10 o'clock at night, so there's very little in London, so there's very little happening. But I'd love to find a gap and then trade this and show you guys, especially something like just anything. It doesn't matter, something that's trending nicely, or we'll see what's happening. So anyway, look, happy trading. I'm apparently am hosting the first ever midweek market focus next week, so I do hope I'm making it absolutely awesome. I'm supposed to keep it at 20 minutes, and I was going to, but now I'm actually thinking there's a lot of demand out there, so I'm going to try and give you the most, obviously, bang for your buck. I'd like to make it the best midweek market focus ever. So if you do watch it and you do enjoy it, please give that kind of feedback back to K2A. It's just nice to get that feedback. Otherwise, listen, have a good week. Don't forget that next week, Friday, is non-farm payroll. There are some income generator setups. I'm sending out alerts. I was looking long on yen and short on cable on those income generators. Look for nice trending charts. That's looking good. Obviously, I trade other stuff as well, but for you guys, I recommend all the really easy stuff. Income generators, snipers, pivots, that kind of stuff as well. Well, it's easy for me, but for you guys, it's your first thing. That's quite tricky. Then, there are other systems. I'm quite happy I teach any of the master trader stuff. So anyway, I'll stop talking. Have a good evening. Happy trading, and I look forward to my coaching sessions with you guys. I really do enjoy those. I'll chat to you. Bye.